really hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, like, and click the bell to be notified of more fantastic music content just like this. Welcome to the Need to Know Music Show with me, Ronan MacManus, here on Switchbox TV, and today I'm joined by a native New York singer-songwriter now resident in Nashville, who's made the move from the stages of Broadway to a fully fledged recording artist, known for her powerhouse vocals and songs with a positive message and a powerful chorus. Please welcome Brooke Moriber. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks for the intro.
Yeah, do you like the intro?
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Do this for a living.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm just a retraining musician out of work. But so how's things? Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of that, how have things been? How was last year for you? And I know that basically everything kind of stopped, but you were in Nashville, and from other people I've spoken to, it seems the kind of songwriting stuff still kind of carried on in some form. Were you able to sort of continue on the path that you had planned for 2020, or was it disrupted? How was it for you?
Well, it was interesting because I actually think it's the most productive year that I've ever had. Unfortunately, it had to be a pandemic, but I was traveling back and forth to Nashville, 2 weeks in New York City, 2 weeks to Nashville for the whole year, and I was pretty exhausted. I was going through the whole A&R process since I recently signed with Reviver Records, and I was doing a lot of soul searching and self-discovery, trying to figure out what is my message, what's my voice as an artist, what are the songs we're going to put out, what are the songs I'm writing. And I had come back the first week of, it was like the last day of February, right before COVID hit in March. And
Yeah.
I remember my mom saying to me, oh, I heard there's this thing like called coronavirus or something. Maybe you should bring a mask with you on the plane. I get home, and the next trip that was supposed to be back to Nashville would be for me to go in the studio and start recording my music. So I get home, and then a tornado hit Nashville, and then the pandemic started, and I was just shut in New York City for 3 months in my studio apartment, which again, I apologize. They're doing some construction above me. So there's some drumming going on upstairs that's not rhythmic.
Should get a broom and bang on, go, keep it down.
Stop it. They're just getting back at me for all the noise I make.
Yeah, this is retribution. But so you sort of found yourself in New York. We kind of did you have stuff you could work on there, or what was happening?
So I did at first. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I just was getting ready to go in the studio. We had so much momentum. Oh my God, here's a big roadblock for me. And instead, I actually felt like I had kind of a 6-month overhaul and really figured out who I was as an artist. I set up my home studio. I taught myself Pro Tools. I was just, recording stuff at home and being very creative. And a lot of the songs that I ended up writing during the pandemic are actually the ones that we're using, because I had kind of a light bulb moment where I realized, oh, wow, I remember why I started writing music in the first place. And it was a source of healing for me. And I felt like with everything that was going on, this was a moment for me to tap into that. And I now feel very, very ready to get the music out. And I think I needed that time to stop traveling for a minute, settle down, just be with myself and figure it out.
Yeah, that's good. That's really interesting that it halted you in your tracks, but ultimately you're better as an artist, and your album's better for it. So that's kind of really interesting. But and also the innovating with home recording and finding a way to continue on despite not being able to do all the things in the usual way. That's really interesting too. I mean, that was were you doing like co-writes and stuff like, or were you writing by yourself? Were you able to do that remotely?
Well, I was so not into the idea of writing over Zoom at first. I was like, oh, this is awful. It's going to not be like being in the same room together. Now I'm kind of addicted to it. I've gotten a lot of writing done, co-writing, just sit in your pajamas and, hang out with your friends in Nashville. And the first song that I wrote on Zoom is a song called In It Together that we wrote. I wrote with my friends, Bill DiLuigi and Kirsty Manna. And when we finished writing it, we were like, this is really special. Like, we don't want to wait until the pandemic is over to record this. Let's figure out a way to do it. So we did home studio, remote recording, made a little music video, got it out there, got some traction on YouTube. And now we finally, a couple months ago, decided to do a full production of it. That was produced by Fred Mullen, who's produced a couple of songs of mine in the past. And his whole thing is like big, beautiful, luscious orchestral ballads, and that's what the song was. So we put it out a couple months ago, and so
Yeah, so I was seeing they come out in November. You also had one in September called Better Days. It seems like really apt. It was like, I mean, a similar sort of thing happened to me with my band last year. We were meant to release our album, and we ended up releasing all singles. And we had the song "Human Kindness," which just seemed to fit with all the stuff that was going on. My wife's a nurse, so everything that was going on with the kind of healthcare workers and the appreciation stuff that was going on, and the way that people were reaching out to each other, and this, it really felt like it was just the right time for that song. And certainly, you know, considering In It Together wasn't even written before the pandemic hit, and it ended up a single at the end of the year. What's that journey been like? I mean, to sort of find this song and then have it out within whatever it was, you know, sort of 7 months of from being halted in your tracks to then releasing a single you didn't even have. What's that been like?
yeah. Well, before that, I just want to send a huge thank you to your wife. She gets the 7 p.m. applause that, you know, I think we've stopped that in New York.
We stopped that here as well. But
I miss it. I feel like we still should do it, but
yeah.
So thank you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I'll pass that on to her.
And I'd love to hear that song from your band. So afterwards, you just send me.
I'll send you the link. Yeah, send you the link. But it kind of felt like it was the right song at the right time, and it seems that even the song title's Better Days, another says Better Days and Better Nights in the lyrics of that song, and In It Together, and these seem to be very reflective of the year that 2020 was. And although there were so many sort of negative things about it, there were a lot of positive messages came out of it.
Absolutely. I think a lot of musicians were inspired to write during this period of time, because what else could we do? So those 2 songs are definitely pandemic themed songs, but they would work in any situation. So
yeah.
Better Days I wrote a couple of weeks after I wrote In It Together. It was a couple of weeks into the whole quarantine, you know, shutdown time period in New York City. I mean, I was here for the first 3 months in my studio apartment, ordering from Fresh Direct and wiping down my groceries, you know, and did not step outside because I live in Hell's Kitchen in the middle of, you know, it's just, we didn't know what the disease was like at that point and how you catch it and everything. So it was a really tough time. And for Better Days, I got on a Zoom with my friend Reed Waddle, who also travels back and forth to Nashville. He lives in DC. And we wanted to write something hopeful and inspiring and anthemic about there being a light at the end of the tunnel. So, and I think that song rings true for anything that anybody's going through.
Absolutely. But let's go back to to your childhood and that kind of thing. I'd like to talk about. Did you have a musical childhood? Are you native to the Hell's Kitchen area of Manhattan? Is
I
that
am
kind of where you grew up?
native to the Greenwich Village area in New York City.
Oh, okay.
Very artsy area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, it'd be easy to fall into music or into performing arts, which is obviously kind of the route you went down, being on stage. What was your childhood like, musically speaking, and how did you first get into music as an idea for something that you wanted to do as a career?
Both of my parents were always very, very into music. My mom used to be a performer. My dad used to play the drums, and they were always playing music in the car and in the apartment. And they came home one night with, I was always fascinated with voices being captured on recordings. And that's like, oh, wow, you kind of live forever. Your voice lives forever in this recording. Like, that's really cool. As a kid, I don't know why I was thinking those things, but I was like, that's really cool. I want to be on one of those one day. And I don't know when I wasn't singing. I've been singing since I was born. I don't know. You know.
What sort of music were you listening to then? What sort of music were you hearing at that age?
So a lot of Linda Ronstadt is my idol. And I think one of the reasons is because my parents played her a lot. Billy Joel as a writer, and a lot of that stuff was playing in the house. A lot of Americana stuff, but also a lot of Broadway musicals. And they came home one night after seeing Les Miserables, and they brought home the cast album. And I heard the little girl on the recording singing Castle on a Cloud. And I was like, wait, I can do that. I want to do that. She's my age. I related to her. I was like, I want to do that.
I sang that one at school. You sang
Castle on a Cloud at school?
Yeah, we used to sing all the show, like, because we had quite a musical school. And we used to sing sort of pick random songs from shows or whatever it might be, and we did a lot of Joseph, and then with Castle on the Cloud is one I remember doing, and I was a little altar boy, high voice kind of.
That's so cute.
So that was one of the ones. Yeah, I used to sing. So I know that fairly well actually. But,
that's amazing.
But that's. I mean, this is interesting because you end up playing. Was that the role you got?
That was my first. So I begged my parents to find a way for me to audition, and my mom, having been an actress in the past, at first was like, I don't want her to have to go through this. It's so much suffering. It's so much of a letdown. It's
it's a tough life.
And then they saw how much I wanted it, so they both supported it. And I sang for a manager over the phone, and I sang Somewhere Out There, Linda Ronstadt's from American Tail. And she was like,
I also used to sing that one. I was a teenager at this point, and I used to sing it in the mouse voice for American Tales. So it was like a funny party piece, end of the night type thing. And I used to play the piano with one of my cousins, and we used to sing it in the mouse voice. Sorry, that's just really random.
No, so one of these days we'll meet in person and we'll do a karaoke and we'll do the duet together.
Absolutely.
The mouse voice.
And my son James, who's now 11, when he was young, he used to look just like Fievel. He had big ears and really cute little face, looked like a mouse. Aww. So that was one thing we always used to say, you look like Fievel. Well, there you are. Random things. But that's a great song, that though. That's Somewhere Out There. It's a beautiful song.
Beautiful song. That whole movie makes me cry.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what you sang over the phone.
So I sang it over the phone.
What age were you, by the way? Now, what age were you at this point?
Oh, we don't talk about that.
You were young. You were.
At that time, I was 8 years old. Yeah.
I'm not asking your age now. Jesus.
Oh, okay.
I got some manners. I was brought up right. No.
Right.
No. What age were you at that time?
I was 8.
Oh man, that's what I got a daughter that age. Do
you have an 8-year-old daughter?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I can't imagine the courage it would take to do that. You must have really been, even at that age, you knew what you wanted and you were prepared to put yourself out there. That is an amazing courage to have at that age,
I'll tell you, it was like one of those things that I wanted it so badly, and when I got it, I'll never forget the first performance that I had. Right behind the scrim, and you start hearing them playing the orchestra playing the intro to Castle on a Cloud, and it's a turntable on the stage, and it's about to turn. I'm supposed to start sweeping, and it turns, and I'm sweeping, and I had a moment of I almost ran off the stage. Like hear deer in headlights, panic, and I was like, I realized what was happening. I was like. And the stage manager was like, no, get back out there.
It's a natural fight or flight. Your legs just want to turn around.
I was ready for flight.
But you managed to force yourself onto the stage.
Yes. It's funny. I still get very nervous before performances, but once I'm in it, I'm so comfortable. It's like, it's not where I'm supposed to be. It's the before that's always,
That was the same thing when I was a kid. My dad used to get me up. My dad was a singer. Get me up on the stage with him sometimes, and I'd be out in the back garden with there was a church hall with a back garden. I'd be out there playing football, but I'd be dragged in, covered in grass stains and mud, thrown on the stage. I don't want to sing, and I'd go, okay, just one, and I'd do one, and then that'd be me. They wouldn't be able to get me off then. Yeah, exactly. Once you're in it, once you get the first bit out the way, and that's the same with any. You can start enjoying yourself then, but it's just getting that self-centered into the moment sort of thing.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
skydiving. Like I've never done it, but like I'm assuming it's extremely scary right before you do it. And then once you're doing it, you're like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I did a bit of abseiling. You know, when you head down the side of a mountain with a rope, and
Oh,
that's like that. The worst bit is getting over the edge, and once you get on the way down, it's like really enjoyable. But
huh.
that just going over the edge is that's exactly that. You know,
That's
because,
interesting.
yeah, so you can actually enjoy yourself. But the so that was so you were 8 years old. You got the parts at that age, and you were on the stage
Yep.
doing Les Mis at that
Yep.
stage. What was the work? I mean, there's a lot of shows, isn't there?
Yeah.
In that, it's a hard work. How
It's
did you
hard.
find it? How did you find it being, especially? I mean, it's the hard work at any age, but what was it like for an 8-year-old?
Well, what they did to make it easier is they actually had three rotating
Uh,
girls playing Cosette every time. One usually played it like one or two more days than the other, but when we weren't playing young Cosette, we were playing little Eponine on stage and substituting for that.
right.
So it was honestly for I just remember when I did it, I felt like I was at camp and it was fun, and I had two girlfriends that we shared a dressing room with, and we
Cool.
played games in between shows and went to dinner with our parents. And I didn't find it exhausting then, but as I became an adult, or even like a teenager in the industry, you start to realize that you're doing 8 shows a week, and then in order to have the next job, you are also rehearsing from 10 to 6 every day for the next job that you're going to have for the next show. And on top of that, on your lunch hours, you're going for auditions. And then when you're not going for auditions or rehearsing or performing, you're in physical therapy because your body's a disaster from dancing and singing on stage and killing yourself.
Other than that, he's living the
Other than
dream.
that, then you sleep, you go to bed at 3 a.m. after you've eaten dinner at 12, and that's the life.
So the transition into, because you were always writing songs, is that right? That was, you had that going as
Yeah.
something, so you kind of had the two things going at the same time. How did you fit in songwriting, or how did you, I mean, were things, ideas coming to you at that point, and
Well,
what
that
was
was
it
the
like?
problem. I loved doing Broadway. I loved doing musical theater, and I'm sure one of these days I'll come back to it because it's part of who I am. But before I wanted to do that, I wanted to be a recording artist.
Yeah,
I used to, as like a 5-year-old, listen to Cyndi Lauper and sing and jump around, and that's who I wanted to be. So I did realize at a certain point that you can't dance at two weddings,
yeah.
and I had to. It was like 5 years ago. I walked into my agent's office and I said, "Don't send me on auditions anymore." It was the scariest thing I've ever done, and of course, everyone around me was like, what are you thinking? You have your 401k, your health coverage now for like covered for life. I could be on Cobra for life for the amount of Broadway shows I had done, and you have like made a home for yourself in theater. Like, what are you doing? Like like saying no to that and starting this whole other career path. And I just knew that if I didn't do it then, I would never have had the courage to do it. And I'm so grateful to the I'm grateful to Nashville for for welcoming me with open arms. I'm grateful to my friends in the Broadway community still supporting what I'm doing now and
Yeah.
enjoying it. So I feel very lucky to have um, like two communities that are very supportive.
But is that, I mean, songwriting and the pursuit of songwriting, is that it's kind of an itch that you just have to scratch, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like I find that when songs come to me, I just have to write that song, and you, otherwise it's kind of like almost like a poison in your system, or, and I can
Hmm.
imagine, especially with the schedule you were on, it wasn't like you could fit in the two things.
I
Not
couldn't.
like, it's not like
Yeah.
you, so you had to choose. And as you say, you've got that reputation there now, within the Broadway scene, and you could make the move and scratch that itch, and then if you want to go back to it, you can. But why not? While you've got the opportunity. So what was it like making that move into, which, songwriting and music is obviously, Nashville is all about that. What was
Yeah.
it like the first day you landed in and you were there, you had made the move? What was that feeling like?
So I had been working with a manager at the time who said to me, I think you should spend, I'd never been to Nashville. I think you should spend some time in Nashville, do some co-writes. I wasn't even used to co-writing. I was just used to writing on my own. And I had no idea what I was in for. And I got into a session with a friend of my manager's, who's Brian DeVoe, who's a wonderful singer-songwriter. He's from the band that did that song, Story of a Girl, 9 Days.
Yeah, yeah.
And he brought in his friend, Bill DiLuigi. And I came into the studio and we just started writing, and I like I was like, oh my God, this is home. These are people who are like that one word. We're gonna spend 3 hours on that one word. Like make sure we like get this phrase right. And Bill DiLuigi and I have become like incredibly close friends. I'm also obviously still friends with Brian, but Bill kind of took me under his wing and introduced me to his friends, and it just became a whole circle of songwriter friends, and I kept traveling back and forth there. I've thought about moving out there, but I'm a native New Yorker, so I just can't do it. But it is my second home now.
Oh, you're not resident in Nashville
No,
full
I'm
time.
not.
Oh, right. I thought
Yeah.
you were. Sorry, I
No,
said that in
I'm
the one part of my
hardcore.
intro that was wrong. I said you're a resident in
That's
Nashville.
right. That's right.
Oh, I blew it. I blew it right in the
But you know
first
what?
sentence.
I'm honored to be considered a resident because I feel like I am a resident of Nashville, just because I don't technically I probably spend 30 to 40% of my year in Nashville and the rest of it in New
Right.
York. So it's my second home for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, to be in that sort of immersed in that kind of community and everything. I mean, it must be. I mean, it must have really raised your game, or you know, it must have felt like you needed to raise your game, or it
Oh
must have just
yeah.
dragged you up naturally. Would have done. How did you? What was that? Tell me. Speak a little bit about that.
Well, it is overwhelming because you go out to Nashville and like you see there's so much talent. It's insane. You perform in all these writers rounds and you're just like, whoa, okay, I need to step up my game there. And just it's overwhelming the amount of talent that you see, and it can be really intimidating.
Yeah.
Uh, and I just have to, and I have realized, and what we all have to realize as artists is that nobody's the same. We all have something different to offer. So you just can't think of it as a competition. You're your own voice. You have your own message. We're artists. So everyone is different. So if you can embrace that, then you start to not get so intimidated by the amount of incredible talent that's out there.
You can really start appreciating other people's talent as well. Like, I mean,
You really do.
it's, I mean, it's
Yeah.
something that I sort of here in London. It's hard to get out and see other artists playing. You know, it's hard to catch other gigs if you're a gigging musician.
Right.
Which none of us have been for a year, to be fair. But it's even harder
Right.
now. But yeah, but you know, before it was even. I feel like being in a community like that, you get a chance to see other people perform and learn from what they're doing. It must be such an amazing scene to be on. Did you get a chance to see a lot of gigs when you first got there?
I did, and I got a chance to, be like a guest on somebody's gigs, or, until I started actually like being invited to play as an artist in Nashville myself. But I did do a lot of homework, and I went to a lot of gigs and watched a lot of incredible performers, and was like, oh shit, I gotta step up this game.
That's great though, isn't it? It must be.
It's
In some ways,
great.
it's like. In some ways, it's like, oh shit, yeah. But in other ways, you're
Yeah.
thinking, well, actually, now I know what I've got to do. I know I've got to. I know I've got to.
Hmm.
If the bar's just been raised, and I've got to meet it. That's it. I've got to.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
So, tell us a bit about the signing to Reviver. But I'm trying to get the timeline of things now because
Yeah.
I know you had issues with your eyes,
Yes.
and with the deal with Reviver. Which way around did those things come? How
So the eye disease, I had a rare eye disease that used to be the leading cause of blindness until they invented chemotherapy and steroids and all those fun
oh
medications.
wow.
So I had the eye disease when I was a teenager, and it was one of the reasons why I started to write music in the first place. It was a really the combination of the pain that I had in my eyes, the amount of surgeries I had to go through, the I woke up one morning and I just couldn't see my face in the mirror, and I remember I was trying to wipe the glass. I was like, what is there fog in the room? What's happening? What's happening? And then it just dawned on me that I couldn't see, and
Wow.
it was the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced in my life. And uh, it was 4 years. The disease lasted for 4 years. I learned books on tape through 4 years of school. I just really, really struggled with it, and the medications were, the side effects were, I wouldn't wish them on any kid to have to. So but I'm very grateful because I went into remission after 4 years of it, and had a couple surgeries once I went into remission, and now I can see up to 20/30 with corrections, which is pretty amazing. And
Yeah.
uh, but it did. I'm grateful for the experience because it inspired me to become a songwriter. It was my
Yeah.
comfort. It's a very lonely feeling when you're a kid and you realize that mommy and daddy can't fix this. The doctors can't even fix this. So I had to kind of go internally, and I was like meditating and just
Yeah.
trying to, I would ask the doctors what's going on in my eyes, just explain it to me, and I would try to meditate on what was happening. And it made me truly believe in the incredible strength that we all have, that we don't realize it. We can shock ourselves into, you know, our body, we're all predisposed to certain conditions, and stress can set it off, and DNA sets it off, all of that stuff. But the power of the mind to help us heal, and music, it just got me through it. And I'm grateful for the experience. I would never want to go through it again, but I wouldn't be where I am now without it.
I interviewed just the other day a singer called Lachi. Do you know Lachi? She's a
No.
New York singer, but she's got an eye condition where when she's a big advocate for
Huh.
disabilities and equality in music. Check her out. I'll send you links to her stuff
Please
because
do. I'd love
we had a conversation about it because she does a lot of speaking and seminars and that kind of thing. But because her eyesight's getting worse, she's got a
Okay.
deteriorating eyesight, so she's almost completely blind. Is legally blind, but she's actually starting a YouTube series to. I'll tell you all about it later, but it's going to be
Please do. I would love
really
that.
interesting. It'd be great for you to connect with her because
I would love that.
because there's a whole community of people. I mean, I had a similar thing. I was deaf when I was young, and
Oh my goodness.
with my brothers, I was kind of cut off from them, and I think that's part of my being able to kind of be in my own world because for a while
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anything. I mean, not being able to see is, but it's just as the same similar sort of thing. The way you're cut off from people, so sort of
Yeah.
having this internal kind of happiness within yourself, happy
Right.
to be in your own. I'm happy to be in my own company, and I
Hmm.
think there's a kind of I don't know. There must be something in that, and then maybe be able to reach inside yourself and maybe a little bit easier for songs and things like that. I don't know. But
How long?
I feel like there has to be a kind of. I was I was okay by the time I was about 10 or 11 or something. That I was fine, and then but now I have hearing aids again. There was something. There's a. I literally got them just during the pandemic. I realised with everybody wearing a mask, I couldn't lip read, and I realised how much I was relying on that.
Oh,
So I
wow.
went for a hearing test, and it was terrible. So anyway, it's not about me; it's about you. But
No, but this is so interesting. I
I
mean,
think it's yeah.
yeah.
I think there's got to be some correlation between because you just write songs, personal songs, and
Mhm.
there's a certain amount of reaching inside yourself, and I think
That's what it is.
having that isolation forced upon you kind of forces you to maybe find those qualities in yourself. I mean, did you find in that time you said that's why you started to write music, and it was obviously something in you that you reached for.
I needed an outlet for the emotions I was feeling, and something to comfort me with it. And it was a person to talk to, just
Yeah,
coming up with lyrics and melodies in my head and putting them on the tape recorder. That tape recorder was my best friend, you know?
yeah, it's a form of therapy, isn't it? Really,
It is.
having that emotional outlet. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is like I think if you go
Banging
to, I
upstairs. I'm so
know,
sorry.
it's okay. Oh, it sounds like a drum sound check or something going on there. It's just,
I just record it and like do a drum sample. Sounds of New York.
yeah. So, I didn't realize that the eye problem was when you were a teenager. I thought it was more recent than
Yeah.
that. So, but when you moved to Nashville, then did you have the connection to Reviver already, or was that somebody what was the?
No, when I started, I was traveling to Nashville back and forth for a couple of years, and then I hooked up with manager Jason Spiewak, who's my manager right now, who's fantastic. and he brought I'm trying to remember how everything went. I had done a recording of a full album with Fred Mullen, who I'd mentioned before, who produced In It Together, and he produced a full album for me that we recorded in Nashville. And that album, Jason had brought up to Reviver, to David Ross at Reviver, and he was like, "Oh, I'd like to hear her perform live." He happens to live in New Jersey. I was performing at Rockwood Music Hall, and I was performing my CD release party for the Fred Mullen album. And he showed up and he came up to me afterwards and was like, "I'd really like to work with you. Let's do this." So it was exciting. I was like, "Oh, it's just, to actually have a label behind you and guiding you, and people in Nashville who really know what they're doing." And the A&R team there has been great and just helping me figure myself out. And I think we figured it out. And I just have been recording it remote, not safely, but sort of remotely. My producer in Nashville has been zooming in, and I've been in the studio here that I use in the city in the isolation booth. I wear my mask, go take it off, spray everything, clean everything, do my OCD routine. It's a crazy way to record these days, but we've been recording my first 3 singles for Reviver in New York, zooming with my producer in Nashville, who's kind of tuned in to the soundboard so he can kind of give me notes while I'm
brilliant
recording. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
So when did Cry Like a Girl, where does that come into the equation? Because I know that you got a Spotify playlisted with that one, and that was sort of like you start to get some recognition from that one. And when I was looking at your Spotify, that's the first recording that's listed. That's the earliest single that's listed. So when did Cry Like a Girl come? Was that on Revival, or was that kind of
No, none of the stuff that's out. Nothing that's out right now is actually on Reviver. Even Better Days and In It Together. I have 4 tracks on Spotify that are independent releases, but they're not the Reviver releases yet.
Oh, okay.
Reviver stuff now, yeah.
Ah, right. So sorry.
Reviver stuff is a little more pop country. That's the sound that we're going for.
Yeah.
And, it's gonna be really cool. I'm very excited about the music.
Yeah. So what's the so do you have the stuff all recorded now for the Reviver releases, or is that
we have the lead vocals recorded as of this week.
So we're really in the middle of it. We've caught you in the middle of the
right in the middle
process.
Of it.
Yes.
Totally. Yes, we're in it.
We're in it.
Yeah. So waiting on some just rough mixes and so we're right in the middle.
Wow, that's good. So what's the sort of time frame on this?
2021, probably spring, I think will be our releases. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And will you have some singles out kind of will that be the first emergence of the music? It will be.
I think what the plan is, and this is what we have discussed, but I believe it's going to be single by single release, and then we do an EP. And then we do a couple more singles, and then we have the full album. So I think that
seems to be the way now. I think with streaming, I think it makes sense to kind of do it that way to build up momentum with singles, because there's no point in throwing out 10, 12 tracks in one go.
Right.
That's what a lot of people have been doing now with the Spotify. It's a kind of like single by single thing. That's great. So what would you say your sort of career, the highlight when you look back? I know you've done Gin Blossom support. I was reading about that, singing with Cyndi Lauper, doing the national anthem at the Knicks game. I mean, what was that like? For
terrifying. Well, it's funny because you don't realize, like, you get your little pitch pipe, you get your note. You're already, it's very naked. There's no orchestra behind you. And, it's an honor to do it. And you want to, do the best job that you can. And I just remember getting my pitch on the pitch pipe, putting it down, and them announcing me. And then the buzzer going up, and I was like, trying to remember my note.
Try not to sing it in a buzzer voice. Oh, there you go.
Thank goodness, I think I stayed in the key I was planning to sing it in.
That doesn't help. Who's going to tune that buzzer?
After?
Because we just had as we record this, just had the inauguration, just had Gaga's
Yes.
version at the Joe Biden's inauguration. So yeah, that was a pretty amazing version.
Oh, I was crying the
There's
whole
been some
time.
huge versions of that. But you're with your voice. I mean, you've got powerful powerful voice, and they always hear this phrase clarion vocals. You know, the sort of the clear thing. So it must really suit you getting that. It must really be able to get into it near the end.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the anthem definitely feels like it's in my comfort zone.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's something about the experience of singing it that always will make me nervous, but I think it
yeah,
does for everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was obviously this was in the days when there was crowds at the
When there was
games. As,
crowds, it was so, I was such a thrill because you see yourself on the big, what do you call the thing in the middle of Madison Square Garden, the screen that
oh,
shows the pictures. I don't know.
I don't know what it's called. The screens.
I
I
don't know what it's
don't know.
called, but it's that giant thing with that giant picture of yourself up there, and and you're
Amazing.
singing, and it was a big, big thrill. It really was. And I'm such a proud native New Yorker, so it felt so good.
What- so, what would you say has been your sort of when you look back on everything you've done so far? I know you kind of feel like you're kind of beginning your journey with Revive and everything, all this stuff, the new recordings coming out. When you look back at the stuff you've done so far, what kind of moments stick out for you?
Moments. I mean, that's definitely one of them. Opening for the Gin Blossoms, like you said, it's definitely one of them. I think a transitional moment for me was a backstage moment when I was performing. I actually did a Broadway show with Cyndi Lauper, and she's always been one of my idols.
Yeah.
And she decided in between shows one day to play time after time. She's just sitting there on the banjo. It was a banjo. I think it was a banjo that she was playing, and just singing for us in between shows in the green room. And everybody was just like the tears, just looking around. And I just remembered thinking, this is reminding me I'm getting sucked into doing all these Broadway shows, and I don't have time to work on my music career, but I want to connect with people on this kind of a deep personal level with who like not playing a character but actually being myself and opening up
Yeah.
to them in that way. I want to feel that connection with my music, and if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. So that was actually the last Broadway show I think I had done. I because that was
Wow.
my deciding moment.
So that was that because that wasn't planned for her. She was just sort of singing to people backstage.
Yeah,
So,
she's just like, I'll bring out my,
so
little
somebody's
acoustic and
so
you guys.
somebody's made her do that to send you the message to say
Exactly.
chase your
The
dream.
universe was like, watch this.
check this shit out.
Check this shit out. Exactly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So we've got the album is planned. That's kind of what's next for you. And are there tentative plans for live gigs at this stage? I know it's kind of everybody's kind of either booking them or just thinking I'll just wait until we know what's going on. Where are you in that sort of?
We have not talked about live at all yet because it's not really an option at the moment. What we are doing are some like videotaped live performances without
Yeah,
an audience, stuff like that. Interviews where I perform from my house.
I love the idea of that kind of. It's a kind of a what do they call them? There's a word for them, isn't it? It's like a movie, like a gig movie or something where there's kind of interview bits and there's live bits and it's a kind of
That's exactly what we're planning on
oh,
doing.
it's so good that because you
Yeah,
get I think that's important to have to use the fact that there's a screen there to kind of connect not just with the songs but you got an opportunity to kind of have a chat between as well and kind of show another side to you. And I think
that's exactly what they.
oh, fantastic,
Yeah.
that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, but so you've been doing these. Where are there some of these already out, or are they still to be released? What have you been? Can
Um,
people when can people check them out, or where can they check them out?
yeah, I believe spring of 2021 is when that's like
So this is all for the
that's
launch.
the date. This is all for launch, yes, and it
Ah,
will
great.
probably be only one song, then maybe a month or two later, the next song, I'm not sure what the timing is going to be, but
Yeah.
the first song will probably be released in the spring.
But with the movies, with the live
Oh, the
things.
video stuff, that
Yeah.
actually, we're also using that as almost like a quasi radio tour where you would normally like perform
Ah,
in the
right.
offices, but we don't have the ability to do that with the pandemic. So that's going to be sent around also as like a within the industry thing. I'll obviously be posting stuff on social media with all the footage that we have, but it's going to be used as a tool where we can't do things during the pandemic. We're going to do that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So where can people check out all this stuff? What's the best social media? Is it kind of all of them, or is there one particular that you're on the most?
All of them, if you're looking for me on the internet, every single social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, they're all under my name, Brooke Moriber. It's BROOKEMORIBER. It's all just at Brooke Moriber. You can also just type my name in on the internet and my website will come up and it'll direct you to everything. To Spotify is also under my name,
Yeah,
Brooke Moriber, and everything is
fantastic. I do.
easy to find.
Excellent, excellent. Is there one particular one that where you kind of post on more than others, or you kind of keep them all updated?
As far as social media, I would say definitely Facebook and Instagram, but Instagram, I would highly recommend going on my Instagram because I also have a Holland Lop rabbit who's the cutest thing you've ever seen in your life, who takes up about 50% of my feed, and he will make your head explode.
I have a friend of mine in Nashville actually, Sean Meyer, and she is. It's like she has a chihuahua, and all of her feed is either her singing or it's chihuahua time.
As it should
It's one of
be.
the two. Yeah,
As it
absolutely.
should be. Yeah. Wait. Oh, he just went. He's sleeping out. Otherwise, I would introduce him to you now. But yeah, he's free range. He's no cage. He's litter box trained. He's big. He's like he's a hardy animal. Like a little dog cat.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. Well, and I always ask a dream gig question, which is basically you're on first, and then there's someone on after you, and then there's someone headlining. It can be anybody from any time period, any artist, alive or dead, from whatever you like. It's complete fantasy chance for you to. So you're opening, and then there's someone after you, and then there's a headline.
Oh
Who
my goodness.
this is?
Wow. No, this is cool. I think I would have to combine Linda Ronstadt and Billy Joel with that. I think me, but the two of them would have to fight for the like main spot. I don't
That's
know
not.
who
Yeah, that's not your. You don't have to worry about that. They can. They
have to
can.
worry
They
about
can.
that. Well,
They can
let's do it
fight
this way.
themselves.
Let's do me, then Linda, so that Linda and I can have some quality time together before she goes on, and then Billy.
Excellent.
I
And
like
then
it.
you all come on at the end.
Yes.
And what song do you sing as the big finale?
Oh my gosh. Uh, we either sang my favorite Linda Ronstadt song, which is "Long, Long Time." If you haven't heard it, you got to check it out. It's written by this guy Gary B. White, and it's the most beautiful song I've ever heard. Um, yeah, or we sing like, oh my God, anything of Billy's. What's his New York song? What's his
You
best like New
need
York?
New York State of Mind. No, is that New York State of
Yeah,
Mind?
yeah, I would do New York State of
New
Mind.
York State of
Yeah,
Mind. That's it.
yeah,
Or
yeah, I like it.
start spreading the news.
That's Sinatra.
I know, but it's in the big New York. Yeah, it's
We
up
could
to.
actually, it doesn't
I can
have to be a
imagine
Billy
the.
Joel song. We could
Can,
just
ma-
like, yeah.
I can imagine the three of you in a line kicking your legs out the end. To you, bow, yeah. I think that'd be good. I think you could pull that
Totally.
off. And I always ask for a recommendation on the show as well. So, with this being the Need to Know Music Show, we always ask for a recommendation of an artist that people need to know. Now, again, this can be someone that's kind of a friend of yours up and coming, or it can be somebody who's influenced you so much you want to say people need to check this person out. But normally, it's someone that they may not have heard of.
I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Brit Taylor. Is she under Brit or Brittany Taylor? But hang on. She is an Americana artist, amazing human being, and her music is beautiful. And she's doing all of this independently, and she's superwoman. Let me just see if I can get her. Make sure I'm giving the right name. Brit No, it's Brit Taylor, Brit.
Okay, Brit Taylor.
Brit
So
Taylor.
we'll put a link to her stuff there and a link to all of your stuff. And feel free to send us any links you want us to include or any information you want us to include in the description underneath the video. So that's brilliant. Well, so I think that's everything. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
You
Real pleasure.
too.
And we've caught you right in the middle of the process, which is quite exciting. So there's still stuff to develop, and I wish you all the best with it.
Thank
And hopefully, when all this is over, you could make it over to this side of the water and come and see us in person. That'd be great.
You're in London, right?
London, yeah.
That's one of my bucket list places I haven't been yet, and I have a lot of friends out there, so you will be seeing me.
Excellent, fantastic. That's great news. Listen, good luck with the album this year, and hopefully we'll see you over here at some point. But until then, stay safe, stay well, and good luck.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brooke. Cheers now.
Cheers.